start. I just want to start by saying how thankful I am just to have woken up this morning, to be able to have the space to settle and feel safe, and to practice communication with myself and something higher than me. I think I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and find that it's incredibly useful, helpful nuggets of information often. And then there's like the space where I almost feel like it's so polished and it's so perfectly put together, and I can clip it and send it and say, look at this like beautiful little thing that I know now. And it's starting to make me think that I'm not sure how like authentically that's helping me, in the sense of like books and literature and all that is so fantastic. And being able to read and ingest like relevant stuff that expands my information base, and then I can use it to compare to something else that I'm learning is amazing. And I think that the videos on YouTube do that, but I think without some sort of vulnerable community gathering, a lot of that information for me just sort of gets like stuck. It sort of like doesn't have a place to go, a place to expand. It just sort of like stays as like a nugget. And I think for a long time, I told myself, oh, expressing before you're ready can somewhat be an irresponsible and foolish thing to do, because then you're just putting out, I don't know, untethered information into the world. And felt almost, I'm gonna judge myself, but felt almost like childish to do so. But as I've, thought it over and realized that like the point of getting these nuggets in the first place is to then to wrestle with them and have some sort of discussion, whether internally or with people, to, I don't know, use them as tools to discover something even deeper. And so I've somewhat made a decision for myself that without that tool use practice, the more information I gather is going to keep me as a tool gatherer and not a tool user. And so I want to encourage people and myself to start using these tools to dig deeper, to uncover something more, to realize that the tool is insufficient. In the past few years of my life, I have realized just how powerful the human mind is and how we can convince ourselves of anything. Like, it's magical and beautiful and terrifying. And even if it doesn't benefit you, or it actually hurts you or hurts people around you, you can still continue to convince yourself of whatever. And so when you're in the confines of your own mind for X amount of time, at some point you're sort of justifying yourself to yourself and your ideas to yourself, and it's important to remember to open up those ideas, and not just get so locked into your own, towers of Babel. So with all that being said, I'm trying to encourage myself to develop different ways of communication and attention, and trying to do it with as little judgment as possible, because reminding myself that we are all human beings and we're going to show up imperfectly, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't eventually get a chance to express ourselves if we're doing it with truth and wisdom as being our guidelines, and our intentions being pure. And so that doesn't mean that everyone is going to be able to express and won't have, I can't even do it. I can't even sit here and not judge myself through not judging. I think that's so interesting. There's this need to have it make so much sense to someone else that I revise the way I'm expressing it already for someone. And who am I even talking to right now? I'm talking to my screen. I'm not talking to anybody. And it's that internal sense of judgment, and that just, I don't know, it obsesses the mind. It obsesses the entire body. And how to free myself from that when using words. I think when I'm just feeling and just sensing, I don't feel that judgment, but as soon as I try to put words to it, that judgment is embedded into those words. And so how to, I don't know, reframe the way you're speaking about it, or how to come to the table without that baggage. Because once it's there and it's present in the body, then every tool you're using through it is filtered by it. And so trying to not just constantly be in a stance of judgment and needing to prove and feeling unworthy. And I think that's where a lot of this pretending and masking and the need to get it right comes from, or shows itself into the world. And it's almost like we were encouraged in the school systems to get it right, to regurgitate it correctly. Oh, you got 99 out of 100 on the test? Well, that one that you got wrong is somehow the more important thing to pay attention to. And I find that as I grow up as an intellectual female, I'm the most prone to this sort of brainwashing of not good enoughness. And so I feel like I haven't found a space on the internet that shows videos of women struggling to speak like this. And perhaps in a way, like that's just like not biologically like what we were meant to do, you know? Like it almost feels like the way our biology was set up was to be the observers and the somewhat, managers and gatherers and comforters. Whereas like the education system said we were supposed to be the knowers and the thinkers and the asserters. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself like a traditionalist, but there's something about the ways in which that I feel like we were put together and the way the masculine and feminine are supposed to work together, where we've taken away a lot of that feminine presence. And everyone is the leader, the pointer, the seeker, the doer. And no one is the beer and the safe place maker and the comforter. And again, without that like communal gathering, as above so below, without that like safe place to like express, then every tool that comes in is coming from a place of unsafety and needing to prove and all the things that I was talking about with my internal judgment before. And so how do we create this like safe place to express in a way that actually allows the tools to not just be centered under a like egoic, judgmental, need to know line of thinking? And I feel like I played a little bit of a victim in my life because I was told that I'm supposed to go to school and I'm supposed to be one of those like manager, director, like you could do anything a man can do. And I became that tool gatherer and not that tool cultivator, user. And I think it's almost imperative at this point to drop those tools, broken or not, in a system that doesn't have that safety, comfort, openness, receptiveness. The tools are not going to work the way that they're meant to. And then cultivating a sense inside of me and a sense inside my community and inside my conversations where the tool usage is actually trying to discover something new, not the exact tool itself. Because until then, I feel like what I'm learning and how I'm speaking and the way other people are learning and the way other people are speaking without that communal space, without that receptive egg to, accept the sperm, there is no ability for new life, for new creation. And so can we learn to have conversations that open ourselves up, both within ourselves and with other people? Because right now it feels so closed off. It feels like there's not revivifying energy. And I don't know, without that, it makes me a little bit worried for the next generation. but I think it's a worthy task, something to actually put my attention into. And I think it's going to be a long road, but here we are. Thanks for listening.